yesterday, a brand new season of Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, commenced in grand style here in Northern California's Sonoma Raceway. Today, the verdant hillside will once again ring with the sound of race engines as 20 purebred racing machines are set to rejoin the battle in California wine country for round 2 of the championship. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Busick is in the pit lane. Happy Easter to you. What a complicated and technical racetrack this Sonoma Raceway is. Let's take a tour of the venue with our track preview with Colin Brown.
Hey guys, Colin Brown here, driver of the 04 CrowdStrike Racing AMG Mercedes, taking you on a lap here at Sonoma Raceway. We're actually watching a lap with my teammate George Kurtz, coming up through turn 1 here. We're up to 5th gear. Big bumps in here, really hard on the car. You've got to be really smooth with the hands, really balance the car down to 2nd gear, back to the throttle, up over the crest, tracking all the way to the left, working back to the right-hand side here, staying in 3rd gear, really smooth with the brake, light little brake, and then back to power again, up over this crest, using all the track. One of the slower corners on the track, turn 4 here, down to 2nd, back to the throttle. Coming through turn 5, this will be flat out, right on the edge, and a lot of marbles offline. Coming to the famous turn 6 carousel, up over the crest as you see, trying to get the car rotated and turned, back to throttle early because this leads onto a really long straightaway. So really important exit here, chance to breathe a little bit, and then back to a heavy brake zone here for turn 7, down to 2nd gear. Kind of a double apex here with a short burst of throttle, getting it rotated. Really important to get back on the throttle early here as well. Keeping your eyes up through these S's. A couple of them are flat out, and then we get to this section where you got to really slow down, get it turned, match the timing of the brake and the turn. Little GT4 traffic here, nicely passed. We come into turn 9, real slow section here. Again, important to get on that throttle, get a good exit. Through turn 10, really famous corner, flat out here. Really nice exit. And then we come into the final corner, tight hairpin. This is a great passing opportunity in the race. George does a nice job here getting it rotated, back to throttle nice and early, gets a really good drive off, and that's a lap around Sonoma.
2.5 miles, 12 turns at Sonoma Raceway. Calvin, you're a driver. You've raced many of the great tracks in the world. What makes this one unique?
Well, it's very demanding, very challenging. It's recognized for being very low grip and superb with its elevation change, particularly through that first sector. Colin took us on board there, coming through turn 2, through turn 3. It's a wild ride, so it's all about keeping it together. Managing the tire will be a real key over this long race here today.
Tough enough with just one car on track, but especially so. 20 about to take the green here at Sonoma Raceway. Looking back at the action that transpired just a day ago. Round 1 of the championship, Jordan Pepper, K-Pax Racing led the field to green, but a spin far in the back of the field, the M-Class car, JC Sada goes around.
Pepper was off on a march early. This is a great battle going on here between Agakani and Russell Ward. Agakani just hanging on to it, being pretty aggressive there with his move into the hairpin.
He was warned by race control for blocking for that move. No warning needed here. David Askew into the tire barrier. His day was done. And then this fantastic battle for the AM-Class lead. Triarci and AF Corsa side by side. This battle went on for laps because just as it looked like Conrad Grunwald had the job done, he goes off track and he's got to start all over again.
Yeah, it's a real treat. Here's another move down into turn 11. Looks to the inside, can't quite clear him, so this battle continued. And finally it went the way of the white Ferrari. Here we see Triarci coming off the carousel, gets a little bit wide, and Conrad pounces.
Conrad Grunwald takes that spot, goes on to the race win. Got a little assist there from Robbie Foley, who was in a battle of his own with the Giacomo Altoe-driven number 3 K-Pax Lambo.
Bodywork parts flying. Triarci goes for a bit of a ride there, but eventually the Lamborghini and the BMW do clear him.
That was a fight for position in the overall running order, in the pro running order, but at the front of the field, as it was much of the year last year, K-Pax Racing took the checkered flag. Andrea Caldarelli and Jordan Pepper dominant in race 1, but Calvin looking ahead to race 2. They've got their work cut out for them it's not necessarily a straightforward run here today.
No, it was very dominant yesterday, but looking at the grid, they're not on the pole. It's Laura Spinelli aboard that US Racetronics number 6 AMG Mercedes who put together a stunning lap here yesterday, admittedly in wet and damp conditions. So we'll have to see what they can do in the dry. You'd have to think that the favorite is still the K-Pax team. This is their home turf. They swept the weekend here last year, looking to go 4 for 4 here today with that number 1 machine.
K-Pax based, as you say, right here at Sonoma Raceway. A pair of Pro Class entries, as it's turned out. That was not the intention, but some late changes yesterday added some spice to the Pro fight. Up to 5 cars now in the Pro Class, 13 in Pro-Am, and a pair in the Am category. Up and down this grid, you see the star power. This is one of those cars that got the promotion yesterday. Giacomo Altoe joined this season by the Canadian Misha Goinkberg, who's got some GT3 experience in this Lamborghini previously, and he'll rely on that to try and be up to speed and fight at the front of this field. Lamborghinis throughout the field, Zalus fielding a pair themselves. Just a snippet of what to expect in the day to come. Beautiful field of GT3 cars down in the pit lane, and standing among them here in Sonoma Raceway is our pit reporter, Amanda Busick.
Hey, Ryan, you mentioned the 20 cars that will take to Sonoma Raceway here today. Well, that is the largest single season-long GT3 field in North America. And at the top of it, Cal, as you mentioned, is Laura Spinelli. I spoke to him prior to this race, and his goal is to keep the Lambo and Andrea Condrelli right behind him. But the teammate to Laura Spinelli is Stephen Agahani, and we were talking about your day yesterday. You found a podium finish already in your first race, now here today. On the pole, when you look at Sonoma specifically, why is that a benefit?
I think in general, almost every single racetrack, every single team would prefer to have pole position, rather than second place, third place, fourth place, so on and so forth. And for us, the team did an outstanding job getting the car set up for Q2, and here we are sitting on top of pole, I believe by, it was 0.007 of a second. So, it really goes to show how tight the competition is out here. The K-Pax Lamborghini Huracan is no joke, especially out here at Sonoma, this being their home track. But, we're here to prove something, we're here to win. But having pole is, it's a really good feeling. Mr. Laura Spinelli himself sitting in the car, he's an outstanding driver, and I believe he's going to maximize every single bit of that.
And with that sound, engines are fired.
Great sound indeed. 20 GT3 cars ready to go. This US Racetronics team, not one that probably is all that familiar to most unless you've been following, frankly, a lot of Lamborghini Super Trofeo racing over the last few years. But they make the jump. They've done it before in GT3, but a big jump, full season in the Pro category in Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS.
Yeah, they made a big statement there yesterday with both their qualifying runs, with Laura starting from the pole today. Agahani had a great qualifying run himself yesterday, showed his aggression early in that battle with Russell Ward. He wasn't to be messed with, so they're making their intentions known. They're here for the full season, and they really intend to really contend for the championship.
And the ones they'll be going through, without a doubt, K-Pax Racing had a great start to the year yesterday, Amanda.
Oh, it was a commanding lead that got that win, Ryan. And when you look at yesterday's performance, what's built on that today?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Building on yesterday's performance, can we expect more of that here today?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I think obviously Loris is on pole with Andrea side by side, Giacomo behind. A couple of good guys. So I think it's going to be a lot of action in the first stint, and then we just got to see how the strategy plays out, whether we go for the undercut, whether we stay long with Andrea. We just got to make sure we do opposite what the others do and try and maximize that possibility. So it's going to be interesting, going to be fun. I think it's a great day for racing out here in California, so let's see what happens.
Have a great race.
90 minutes, 2 drivers, 1 full service pit stop right around the halfway mark. That is the race format in Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. There is some room in there for the strategy, and Jordan Pepper alluded to it. That could be crucial.
Yeah, he talked about the undercut, and what that means is you come in basically as soon as you can when that pit stop window opens, and it's not always the lead who gets that first opportunity. It's based on the clock. When the clock strikes that 40 minutes in, then you can come down pit lane. So if the lead is already by the pit entrance, it could be someone deeper in the pack. And with the tire degradation that we expect here, even though the Pirellis have performed really well as a new, harder, stiffer construction Pirelli P0 they're running on, really showed great pace later in the run yesterday, but there's still a drop-off. So if you come in early, get some fresh Pirelli P0s on, and with the tire warmers, you can go out and immediately run a very hard, fast lap, and that can sometimes gain you some track position.
Starting grid up on the screen, as we mentioned, on pole will be Loris Spinelli in that US Racetronics Mercedes. The reigning champion Andrea Caldarelli set to start from the outside of the front row. Other class pole sitters, Mario Farmbacker for Racer's Edge. That car had to start at the back yesterday due to an infringement pre-race. They raced their way forward, had a good result. Mario teaming with Ashton Harrison. And then in the AM class, Conrad Grunwald doing a great job. He actually qualified 11th overall, and on the AM class pole, they were the winners 1 day ago. Out on the formation laps, getting close to the start of racing activity. Race 2 of the weekend at Sonoma Raceway. These 2 formation laps, Calvin, so important for the drivers to make sure all the systems are functioning, get the tires up to temperature, up to pressure, so that you're ready to go. Keep in mind, there are tire warmers in this championship, so trying to maintain some of the heat as they come out of the blankets or out of the ovens, depending on which the teams elect to utilize. That's so important here on these 2 laps.
It really is. It's not so much about building temperature, just maintaining that temperature when they left the tire blankets, left the tire oven. So you can do that in a number of ways. You see the cars weaving around. That's really just to scrub the tires and keep them clean from some of the marbles that will lay out there. It's more done with the brake pedal. You kind of ride the brake against the throttle and just try and build heat up through the brake system. That goes through the upright, into the wheel, into the tire, and eventually you build pressure and temperature at the same time.
If you were with us yesterday, you'll notice some of the cars that factored towards the front early in that race, well, they're towards the back here today, and vice versa. Keep in mind, race number 2 of the weekend, it's the pros that qualified rather than the AMs and the Pro-Am lineups for this race, and it's the pros that start, and as a consequence, there are a lot of these Pro-Am cars with enough talent and good enough teams. They can run with the pros, especially with their pro running the first stint.
Yeah, there's going to be some fireworks in this opening stint here today, because you're spot on there, Ryan. With the pros starting, guys like Jan Halen, qualified 5th fastest overall. He's going to try and duke out with some of these big guns here this afternoon. So try and maintain his class position, but also try and fight out against the overall position as well, just to give his teammate a little bit more breathing room, coming off a big victory here yesterday. But these pros are also going to go deeper into that pit stop window. Typically in the first race of the weekend, we're seeing the drivers come in early, get the AMs out, get the pros in. For this one, you want to maintain the pros in the car for as long as you can and really utilize all of the speed that they have.
3 onboard cameras for our coverage here this year in Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. A moment ago on board with the CrowdStrike on board, Colin Brown will start that machine. That last on board was with Nick Whitmer, the ST Racing BMW, the BMW M onboard camera. And then the winners yesterday, K-Pax Racing, Andrea Caldarelli will give us a tour during the first stint. Jordan Pepper will take over this Lamborghini for the 2nd run.
This is the only time that car is not led this weekend. So we'll see what they can do here. Right now with Spinelli, will be starting from the pole.
And he will. The field's starting to come into alignment. Just a few more corners left to negotiate. Lights off on the Acura NSX safety car driven by Mike Stillwagon, and he heads down to the pit lane. We are moments away from the green flag. Race 2 of the 2022 Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS season. Field of 20 GT3 cars coming to the VP Fuels acceleration zone. Loris Spinelli in the Mercedes starting on pole. He'll command this start to the race. To his flank, it is the Lamborghini, the winner yesterday of Andrea Caldarelli, who backs off a bit at the start. Great jump from Spinelli, taking a peek to the inside down, run to the pit wall. Boy, that was close. Giacomo Altoe had to back out of it. Mario Farmbacker around the outside, trying to grab P3.
He does that. That's the bright red Acura NSX up to P3. Gets around the green Huracan there of Altoe.
Oh, that was close for Altoe into that pit wall down the main straightaway. Now he's coming under attack from Philip Ellis. Ellis had to check up. Here comes Jan Halen, one of the Pro-Am cars. He's flexing his muscle early in the going.
Look at this. You see the real-time racing entry, that orange and white, the traditional colors. They're back in the mix this year. Michael Cooper now behind the wheel, sharing that car with Aaron Vogel. On board here with Colin Brown. This is the carousel. Trying to run that high line here. Getting the power down early.
Even with the tire warmers, these tires not fully up to temperature yet. Side by side, Dirk Muller getting his first stint. His car had this crash yesterday, so Dirk didn't get a chance to drive after Askew's mistake. Now he's going side by side with Corey Lewis in the Zalus car.
Yeah, and Lewis there really had to get up and over the curbs there, and Colin Brown takes advantage of that little hiccup there in his acceleration coming off turn 7.
Field mostly single file now, heading down to the chicane for the first time. 3 classes all mixed together. In fact, one of the Pro Class cars is right in the middle of that fight. That's Robbie Foley. Turner Motorsports, their BMW M4 GT3 that was elevated to the Pro Class just before race 1 of the weekend yesterday.
Yeah, Foley didn't have the best of qualifying runs deep in the pack amongst the Pro-Am cars, but he's had a decent start to this one.
Spinelli consolidating that lead from pole. Caldarelli slots in second. Then it's Farmbacker, Altoe, Ellis, Haywood, Cooper, Muller, Brown, and Corey Lewis, the top 10.
And this is one track when you have that pole position, you have that inside line for the sweep up the hill, you can really take advantage of it. Spinelli's taken off. We saw yesterday, Ryan, that he really had a lot of speed early in the stint, but then started to fade. So you can achieve a little bit more speed by upping those tire pressures to the start, but it could hurt you later in this run. And some of these drivers are going to be out there for nearly 50 minutes on this first stint.
Big mover on that first lap. We were on board with him for a few moments. Colin Brown, Riley Motorsports, the team this year for CrowdStrike Racing, up no fewer than 7 spots on the first lap.
Yeah, he was very much out of position, qualified 16th overall, so he knew he had to make hay during these opening laps where you can sort of like make a bundle of positions, because once this race settles down, it's going to be tough sledding.
On board now with Colin, who's chasing down Dirk Muller, Multimatic affiliated driver, who's teaming up with David Askew here this season. That's the former team for Colin Brown, DXDT Racing.
Yeah, and this car looked really strong here yesterday, ended up finishing second in their class. Nice strong run. Colin Brown had really fast laps going as well. Seemed to be really strong late in the going, so let's see what Dirk Muller can do to try and hang on to that position.
The sights and sounds of GT3 racing echoing through the hills in Northern California. Beautiful time of year to be out here, and beautiful race cars on the track right now. Interesting to see the ST Racing car has slipped back. It's Nick Whitmer driving. He dropped a pair of spots at the start and runs at the back of the train. Big surprise there as we ride on board with the Canadian.
Yeah, they had a really nice run yesterday, finishing in the top 5 in their class. This is the first team to win with this BMW M4. Won in Mugello a few weeks ago. Early days, but this team has more experience with this chassis than anyone else who's competing with it right now.
To the front of the field, though, where the Italian Loris Spinelli leads his countryman, Andrea Caldarelli.
Boy, does he fire it in there over the hill. Brakes after the crest of the hill, really deep. Right now, the tires are good. They're in their sweet spot now. 3 laps into this run, so Caldarelli will now be trying to project what he can do. Team will start to give him the delta, give him the sector times. Track is split into 3 sectors. There'll be an ebb and a flow to that, where one manufacturer or team or car driver may have an advantage over another.
Dropping back, we look at Farmbacker, who had that great start. He's now coming under a ton of pressure. Giacomo Altoe, who was the man on the move late in the race yesterday, picking up where he left off. He's going on the attack.
Farmbacker really deep there, misses the apex slightly. He wasn't all over the curb like most of the drivers are trying to do there in the beginning of that chicane.
These two swap positions basically there on that first lap.
Both factory drivers, Farmbacker with HPD, Honda Performance Development, Giacomo Altoe. What a young star this Italian is. Comes from a racing family. His father, his sister raced, and also they own a track in Italy, so he's been brought up around the race circuit, and it showcases in his talent behind the wheel.
Farmbacker caught one of the bumps just a little bit wrong, sent that car into yaw, and Altoe closed in as a result. So close, just a quarter of a second between these two. Acura versus Lamborghini.
Wow, as he using all of the road there, you come up with that crest in turn 3, you can't see the exit of the road, you just fire it over the top. A total commitment there from Farmbacker.
We talked about it throughout the weekend, but this is a track the pictures just can't do it justice. Here in particular, what a dive this is downhill in turn 6.
Yeah, you're playing chicken with the throttle coming through there. You want to get on the power, but the road keeps going away from you. Just try and get to that second part of the apex. There's a double apex turn. then that sends you down into this deep braking zone. Lots of room here to go side by side, particularly later in the run when the tires start to give up a little bit and you start to slip and slide.
This is the Florida-based Racers Edge team against K-Pax Racing in terms of the green Lamborghini, based here at Sonoma Raceway, so very much home soil for that team, although Altaway has only been here to race one time before, and that was last year.
On board with Colin Brown, deep into the brake zone. This is turn 9. Watch how much of that curve they try and eat coming through there. You need the suspension to be compliant enough to use that and not just shove you across the road when you hit that bump. Second gear through this corner. Try and keep it tight. It's a little bit wide there. You want to try right on that painted curbing on the inside. That's where the grip is. Then you fire it through here. High speed is achieved on this racetrack right here, about 143, 144 miles per hour.
Good fights throughout the field, but it is starting to tighten up at the very front. Andrea Caldarelli, CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race the last time by, a 137.2. That was 0.2 of a second quicker than Loris Spinelli in the race leading car, so he's got that deficit down under 1 second.
And again, there's a strategy with that. With this long run, 50 minutes potentially, you don't want to have those tire pressures starting too high. You got to let them build, get into that sweet spot. Tire management is certainly a key here. It was really a factor on Friday during the practice runs. We saw the tire performance drop off by about 4 to 5 seconds delta on the lap, but yesterday in the race, once this track had rubbered in, it was down to about 1.5 to 2 seconds, which is really a testimony to this new Pirelli P0 and how durable it is.
8 minutes into this 90-minute race, Loris Spinelli out in front. Andrea Caldarelli giving chase to the K-Pax Racing Lamborghini.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Fanatec, AWS, and CrowdStrike.
Top two flashing by. The gap now 0.8 of a second between Loris Spinelli and Andrea Caldarelli at the front of this field. Still a good fight for third overall. Mario Farmbacher in the red Acura NSX GT3 Evo 22, the new iteration of the NSX. He is the leader in the Pro-Am class. This fight behind him, right, that's not for position. That is Altaway, one of the Pro class cars who wants to clear the NSX that eventually Ashton Harrison, who you see on screen, will be taking over so he can take off in pursuit of the two Pro Class cars ahead. And lurking in the background, Wright Motorsports, the Porsche race winners yesterday, Jan Halen, who teams up with Charlie Luck. That's the second place car in Pro-Am.
Farmback may be the cork in the bottle a little bit, looking at their lap times in this little quartet. Jan Halen has basically got a buffer there to get to the lead for the class in Pro-Am. So Farmback about 0.4 off the pace of these following cars potentially. So, but he's a savvy driver. He wants to keep them there. They're almost like wingmen for him in protecting that Pro-Am lead from Jan Halen right now.
Visually there, you can see the gap from the front two to this train, headed up by Farnbacher. Here is the look at the leaders with Loris Spinelli out in front. It was 0.8 of a second the last time
He's
by.
in deep. He got in really deep there.
Caldarelli trying to pick up a little bit of ground on the race leader. Here they come around turn 12 to complete lap number 6. And again, slight edge, but ever so slight to Caldarelli.
Yeah, look, you have to fight the car up there through the bumps, climbing that turn. You pick up grip coming up there, so you bleed the speed off gradually, crest the hill. This is turn 3 coming in here. Watch the elevation change here. You can see it from the onboard. Can't see the exit right there, up and over the hill. Edge of the road can catch you out in a heartbeat. Trying to hit your marks there. Spinelli really pushing hard here. He's not quite carving the corners, missing his apexes just slightly.
Last year, several times that matte black coloring on that Lamborghini. We talked about it as Darth Vader-like as it's looming in the rearview mirrors of the car it's chasing. That cannot be anything but a sinister sight for Loris Spinelli, who continues to lead from pole for US Racetronics. Top 2 cars, both from the pro class, separated by just under 1 second. With 11 minutes gone by, race 2 of the weekend for Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, Mercedes leading Lamborghini. The scrap at the front of the field has not slackened one bit. Once again, Caldarelli, a more aggressive turn-in very early into the hairpin there. Does it work for him though, Cal?
Well, Spinelli likes to open up the radius a little bit on the entry there. It looks like Caldarelli is using the ABS, sort of like plowing it down to the inside of the corner and using the threshold braking a little bit better. So for Spinelli to do that, he's having to release the brake pressure, but I really feel like Caldarelli's car is starting to come into its own. So I think the tire pressures are in their sweet spot. I think Spinelli started off really quick there, pushing things. May have gone a bit more aggressive to try and maintain that track position early and just try and hang on. But yesterday we saw a similar situation in that battle that he had with Philip Ellis. Put the pressure on Ellis and then just faded a little bit later in the stint.
They fall back to 3rd overall, but the leader in Pro-Am, once again, like you said, maybe the cork in the bottle here, Mario Farmback in the NSX from Racer's Edge. For the moment, he's been able to keep Giacomo Altoe at bay.
Yes, Altoe looks to be being pretty patient right now. He's not got too aggressive, hasn't forced the issue. And once this race settled in, you get to a corner like the carousel so hard with these GT3 machines, with the downforce that's created by these big splitters and the dive planes on the front. You get that aero wash a little bit through these high-speed corners, and even though you may be able to fire it through there a little bit quicker, you're losing that performance because of the car directly in front of you.
What a cool win it was yesterday for the Porsche. Jan Halen and Charlie Luck, Wright Motorsports, the team. Reigning Pro-Am champion team, and Jan Halen formed half of that championship driver lineup last year alongside Fred Pordat. But Charlie Luck stepping up. He was a champion in his own right in GT America last year, and on debut, a class win.
Well, someone who's on debut here is Mario Farmback. He'd never seen this track before, which I found to be quite a surprise. So he and Ashton Harrison, both of those drivers aboard the 93 Racers Edge Acura, learning Sonoma for the very first time, and it's a tricky place. I really find this first sector very hard to nail in terms of finding the line, committing to these elevated turns like this one, turn 2.
Is there another section of racetrack somewhere in the world that compares to it, or does this one stand alone?
Well, I think we go to the Ozarks shortly, right? I think that's got a similar vein of character.
I think everyone is anxious to see what that looks like. A mini Nürburgring is the description most often heard about this brand new track. Coming up in May, we'll be making the trip there. First pro race weekend at a brand new circuit. Hope you join us for that. But now the focus is here, and Farnbacher slips just that little bit wide. Altoe kept it tight, kept that fresh air on the front of that car, able to keep the downforce on it. He's as close as he's been.
The Farmbacher washing out wide early in the carousel allows Altoe to kind of tuck that Lamborghini Huracan inside there and get a little bit of air to those front dive planes and aid with the assist in terms of the downforce.
Amazing how much curb he was using there too in turn 7. It's an aggressive curb angle, and he was all up on it.
Yeah, you really have to dial that into your setup here. Sometimes you love the car to be a little bit stiffer, more platform, so you can have that quick change of direction, have a really sharp front end, but that's going to hurt you when you try and ride the curbs or the big bumps around the circle.
Fall back and check out Bill Oberlin here, keeping Conrad Grunwald at bay. Conrad is the leader in the AM class. He and JC Sada were the team to beat in AM yesterday, but it took some doing. Great battle in the AM class, as we saw in our highlights earlier in the show.
Oberlin running there in the 14th position overall, 9th in Pro-Am. He and Chandler Hull on debut together. Bimmerwell's debut in this championship, first time running a GT3 car. Great podium run here yesterday. They had to be absolutely ecstatic because this is a late program for this car. They had another car that they tested with the VI, had a big testing accident. The thing was written off. Supply has been an issue with these BMWs early in the season. So James Clay elected to give up his entry, switch to GT4 competition, and allow Chandler Hull and Bill Oberlin's program to continue.
Oberlin and Grunwald currently 14th and 15th overall, but in different classes. Back on board, Colin Brown, 5th in Pro-Am, 9th overall, trying to chase down Dirk Muller.
you'd expect between two Mercedes. They look to be very evenly matched here. Mueller has a ton of experience with Mercedes. He's run at the Nürburgring many times. He's been a Ferrari, Porsche, Ford, you name it. He's been a factory driver for them. Very distinguished career, most recently here in North America, around with Chip Ganassi Racing and the Ford GT program. Here's a move by Altoe, gets to the inside of Farmback. Here comes Ellis, he's going to take advantage of this.
Oh yeah, Philip Ellis loved what he saw. He's to the inside of Altoe. It's Halen to the inside of Farmbacher. It gives him a bit of a hip check. We might see some more hip checking. Yes, we do. Into the hairpin. Ellis tries to keep it pinched down inside of Altoe. He picks up 2 spots in one go. Altoe now seeing through the red mist. He's going on the counterattack.
Wow, that was just some awesome racing right there. And Jan Halen makes the move around Farmbacher as well. So Farmbacher was elbowed out of the way a little bit there by Altoe.
And that's for class position. That's the Pro-Am lead swapping hands. Put Halen to P1. Farmbacher now drops to P2.
And that was not what he wanted to see happen. He wanted to try and maintain that overall position, but the last thing he wanted to see was Jan Halen suddenly getting by him.
Philip Ellis had to love that. The easiest 2 places you're going to make up.
Let's see how it develops. Altoe from a long way back. Farmbacher tries to defend, squeezed him a little bit. They get in there. Altoe hasn't slowed down enough. They both take to the grass there, and Ellis just gets a big run coming off of turn 9.
To my eye, I'm not sure Altoe is going to make that corner. I wonder what the stewards will think.
Yeah, tough to correct it, right? They'd have to drop him back 2 positions to put Mario back in front, so a tough call for the stewards right now.
Well, after all of that, it's still Spinelli over Caldarelli, but only by 0.3 of a second. Ellis now runs 3rd overall and in Pro. Drop Altoe back to 4th. Ron Halen, 5th overall, leading in Pro-Am. Race Vision, powered by AWS, turn 11. That is the tight hairpin, the second to last corner. Top speeds in the hairpin, well, they're not all that fast, but Philip Ellis is doing it as well as anyone.
Yeah, that Mercedes is really well suited to the majority of the racetracks that we compete on. It's just a really well-rounded car, does everything well, brakes, compliant over the bumps, and has good mechanical grip in that low-speed corner.
Altoe trying to recover after dropping a couple of spots. He now runs 4th for K-Pax Racing. Still, early stages in race 2 of the weekend. Spinelli and Caldarelli at the front of the field. The fight, though, now is for the final step of the podium in Pro. And also overall, for what that's worth, Philip Ellis has it. Giacomo Altoe would like to take it away.
Yeah, and since they've been released from Farmbacher, kind of trying to keep these cars at bay, the lap time has suddenly shot down. They're running in the 139 range, only a few tenths off the leaders on that last lap. So there's a lot of pace in these 2 cars that are now giving chase.
Curious to see, too, what Ron Halen can do. It looks like he's put a bit of a gap between himself and Farnbacher in that fight for the Pro-Am lead. Meanwhile, we go back on board with the 2nd place running Andrea Caldarelli as he continues to stalk Loris Spinelli.
So you have to use a little bit of brake through turn 8 just to settle it down through the high-speed S's there. This is turn 9 exit. Turn 10 just winding up through the gears. Pretty easy flat. You have to adjust the line a little bit as the tire deck kicks in later into the stint. Hard braking here. 2nd gear. You want to be right down where you see Caldarelli placing his car. That's where the grip is coming off there. Traction, power down is then the next key.
You can tell this car's been fast because of the graphic at the bottom of the screen. He still holds that CrowdStrike. Fastest lap of the race. Takes a look up the inside into turn 1, but the door is shut in his face.
There's a rodeo ride up there through turn 1. High speed, fastest part of the racetrack, and the biggest bumps as well.
This is the highest point elevation-wise on the circuit, cresting the hill at 3A. Now downhill they come into 4. A brave soul might be able to make an overtake there. We've seen a few of them this weekend, but it's a rare thing. And then that never-ending carousel right here, turn 6.
Yeah, this is a good one. Road just continues to fall away as Jordan Pepper looks on to see the march from his teammate trying to get to the lead of this race. Might be a little bit tougher sledding for Jordan Pepper and his teammate Andrea Caldarelli here today, but nonetheless, he's smiling.
He's up for it. He embraces the challenge. Big thumbs up from the South African, who was so impressive in qualifying. Qualifying happened in the rain in the morning yesterday, and he went faster in the wetter session than anybody did in the drier session that followed.
That was super impressive, just immediately out of the box. He was some 6-7 seconds quicker than anyone on the racetrack for those first few laps, ultimately claiming the pole in his session by 3.6 seconds. Just a monster performance by Jordan Pepper.
To use his words to our own Amanda Busick, not bad for a guy who comes from a country where it doesn't rain all that much. He's been a quick study, coming to Europe and seeing his career blossom there. Now, turning into an excellent GT driver on North American shores. He'll be taking over in just a few moments, but now it's Caldarelli giving chase. 1 hour, 8.5 minutes to go, and the fight at the front is as fierce as it's been since the drop of the green. Laura Spinelli had a lead of 1.5 seconds. Well, that is gone. On board now with Andrea Caldarelli, Lamborghini factory driver, chasing down his compatriot Spinelli in the Mercedes.
Yeah, Spinelli's done a really nice job. I don't think his car is working quite as well as Andrea's right now, but he's holding on to that position. Hasn't made the big mistake, hasn't opened up the door. Here's a battle for position overall. Conrad Grunwald leading AM, gets around Bill Oberlin. Brian Sellers tries to go with him.
What a feather in the cap for the AM class driver, Conrad Grunwald, to get around the likes of Bill Oberlin.
Yeah, Oberlin doesn't look happy with his car right now. Again, it's early days for Bimmer World campaigning. This GT3 machine had a podium run here yesterday. Oberlin looks like he's just hanging on.
Grunwald has been so impressive. This is how he got it done. He came from a long way back and somehow was able to make it work.
Yeah, it's almost like Bill was willing to let him go, just take the pressure off a little bit. Feels that the BMW maybe cannot fight, recognizes it's not for a class position.
Same cannot be said, though, for the Mercedes just behind him. That's Brian Sellers, now driving for DXDT Racing. Scott Smithson, his co-driver, who I thought was very impressive on the streets of St. Petersburg in the GT America race. And now slotting in here in GT World Challenge America, former touring car competitor making the step to GT3.
Yeah, I don't think it was the weekend that both Brian and Smithson were looking for entering this campaign, but I think got a ton of potential. Brian's one of the best, coming off a huge GT3 win on the streets of Long Beach just 1 week ago here in the state of California. And I think bringing that experience level to this squad. He's coached Scott Smithson before in TCR. So they know each other well. The chemistry is already there, and I think as Smithson starts to learn the ropes a little bit and get some racecraft, they can do great things together this year.
On board once again, Colin Brown, the Texan, now living in North Carolina, chasing Dirk Muller, who in turn is chasing Michael Cooper, who has come back to these two after a very good start. And the trend I'm seeing, Calvin, is that both NSX machines, both Farmbacker and Cooper, seem to be backing up somewhat as the run goes on.
Car's a little bit more difficult to drive around this racetrack. Certainly Real Time have had success here. Back in 2019, Dane Cameron and Mike Headland had a win and another podium run here on this Sonoma circuit. So there's some data to work from. Obviously, they're now working with the here, but great to see Real Time back. And there's a real battle for who's going to be the top dog amongst the NSX ranks here this weekend between Real Time and Racer's Edge.
Back to this fight for the overall lead. All credit to Laura Spinelli. He has one of the best GT3 pilots in the world, putting the pressure on, and Spinelli has yet to crack.
Now, and there you see that slight difference in entry point there to that turn 11 hairpin. Seems to be pretty even. Doesn't look like either line is given a massive advantage, but certainly Caldarelli's car looks to be hooked up. He's able to tighten his lines. Spinelli's having to use a bit more of the road up the hill there. You see the different approach. Caldarelli more in the middle of the road. And also when you're following up through some of these elevation climbs, it's really hard with the car in front. You lose your sight line completely underneath that big rear wing when you're that tight to the competition like Caldarelli is. So you have to play it a little bit more cautiously.
1 hour, 4 minutes to go. We've talked about Mario Farmbacher dropping off a little bit in recent laps, and Amanda is standing by with Ashton Harrison, Mario's teammate.
There are 3 women competing in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Series this season, and Ashton Harrison is one of those. And I saw your disappointment when Mario got pushed off the track there. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
A lot, obviously. It's a bummer because it is. We were in a really great spot at the time. I do believe in Mario. He'll drive it back up. He's a great guy and is a great teammate, and I have faith in him. It's the start of a 90-minute race. We have some time, so I think that we'll be in a good spot at the end of the race.
I talked to you ahead of the weekend, and you said it's your first time here racing at Sonoma. How comfortable are you with the turns around this place so far?
Well, considering that we've had different weather every single day of the week, I've been learning a lot about the Acura NSX, and it's a great platform, and I feel like we do really well in the rain. We do just as good in the dry, so I've been able to get my laps in, and I'm looking forward to the AM side. I think that we're going to have a good battle.
She's been making a rapid ascent up the sports car racing ladder. Started off doing some MX-5 Cup racing a few years back. Became the first female driver to win a Super Trofeo World Final race. She won her LB Cup Class 1 of the races in 2019. And has done a lot of Super Trofeo racing, but making the jump to GT3 as a graduate of the HPD GT3 Academy in recent years. The fight at the front, though, continues to be between Laura Spinelli and Andrea Caldarelli, who is in hot pursuit of the Mercedes in Northern California wine country.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Pirelli, Rebellion, and VP Racing Fuels.
Coming to the 1 hour to go mark in just a few minutes, Philip Ellis. A relatively quiet run, barring that brief moment of excitement in which he picked up 2 spots just a few laps ago, running a solid third, not just in the pro class, but also overall. And Russell Ward will be next aboard this machine.
Yeah, this Winwood Racing Group, relatively early in their development as a team. Great support from the Ward family, both Russell and his father Bryce. Keen races as now we see that battle for the lead. Caldarelli gets into the back of Spinelli. Nearly turns him as they accelerate off that turn 11 hairpin. This is getting tighter and tighter. Caldarelli wants by and wants to try and create a gap for his teammate to deal with a bit later in this race.
It's an interesting bit of calculus, though, that goes into it because Caldarelli so late on the brakes, able to close in. It looks like he does have the edge right now. What I was going to say, though, is Spinelli's co-driver, Stephen Agacani, very fast, but does not have the same experience level as, say, Jordan Pepper, who will be taking over for Andrea Caldarelli. And so how hard do you push here in stint 1, thinking that there's a decent chance that Jordan Pepper will have a bit of an edge in stint 2?
I agree, and I think if the roles were reversed and if Caldarelli didn't have a stronger driver than the counterpart in the other car, maybe he'd be even more aggressive right now. But even so, he's a racer. He wants the lead. It's really the first time we've seen this car being led here at Sonoma in quite some time. So he doesn't like sitting there, and he's able to roll a little bit more apex speed, it seems, than the Mercedes at this late stage of the tire run.
And I'll say this, Stephen Agacani has been very impressive this weekend, so there's no guarantee that Jordan Pepper will have the edge. You just look at their respective resumes and you think that could be an outcome, but I'll tell you what, Stephen has been on the pace from the word go.
He really has been super impressive, and here you see Spinelli again, just kind of slipping and sliding. He's not really carving the perfect line around this racetrack, but he's not making it wide enough, that gap, for Caldarelli to fill and maybe get that lead right now. This is where the Lamborghini is really strong, just really able to roll that inside line there, maintain the grip, gets off there, almost gets to his flank, but he's still on the outside as you approach that high-speed sweep up the hill.
Keep in mind, Spinelli's been using the wider approach. Does that leave the door cracked open enough for Caldarelli to take a peek up the inside in 1? Not this time, but he is as close as he has been, climbing the hill through 3 and 3A. The fight for the lead is on with 1 hour to go. Loris Spinelli doing everything in his power to keep the Lamborghini factory ace Andrea Caldarelli at bay with less than 1 hour remaining. Andrea Caldarelli as close as he has been over the course of the first 30 minutes. Loris Spinelli doing everything in his power to keep the Lamborghini at bay, but Calvin, that's becoming more and more difficult, it would appear, by the lap.
Yeah, looks like Caldarelli is getting more anxious here to try and grab that lead before the pit stop window opens, getting ever closer to the tail end of this US Racetronics AMG Mercedes in front of him. Spinelli's actually doing an excellent job here. I don't think his car is as fast, but he's maintaining that lead just by positioning that car in exactly the right spot and not succumbing to the pressure from behind.
Deeper in the pack, something must have happened to Corey Lewis on that last lap in the Zalus car. He dropped 3 spots. Dial, Foley, and Beretta all made up positions on Corey Lewis, who's now down to 8th in Pro-Am, 13th overall.
Down in the turn 11 brake zone. Watch this Lamborghini, able to hug the inside, right down on the curb there. Almost touches the rear end of the Mercedes. A couple of laps ago, they did have a little touch coming off that corner. Keeping it clean, big respect between these two Italians.
Let's talk pit strategy here. For Thomas Blom calling the strategy for Andrea Caldarelli. What can you do from the timing box to leapfrog potentially and get yourself out in front into clean air?
Well, you may want to do the opposite to what the 6 car does. So you got to feel that they're going to keep Spinelli in as long as possible. You see Corey Lewis, you mentioned that he'd dropped down the order a lap or so ago. Maybe he's had another off there.
I think he's got a right rear tire down.
Yeah, so maybe he got tagged or maybe has cut down that sidewall. Potentially, all hypothetical at this stage, trying to put the pieces together.
Tough to see that. He and Jeff Burton, new tandem working together, new team for Jeff. So many years with Reardon Racing, now with the Zalus team. Sister Zalus car right there. Addison Snow at the controls. Jason Harwood already a winner today. He won his first career GT America race earlier this morning.
Yeah, did a really solid job in grabbing that win. It's going to give him a ton of confidence, and he's had track time today, so he'll be up to speed relatively quickly. Here is our Pro-Am leader, Jan Halen, aboard that Wright Motorsports, number 45. He and his teammate coming off championship seasons. Quite unique. It's son-in-law driving and father-in-laws. We see Alice go for a ride through turn 9.
Well, we talked about it at the start. Tire degradation is a huge storyline at this racetrack, and it looks like a number of these cars are just trying to hang on.
Stewards will be a little bit wary of that. That's the one corner that they will call track limit. So if you fire it through there and you don't slow down any, theoretically, even though you're dirtied up your tires a little bit, you could gain an advantage.
Caldarelli again, just taking that peek to the inside. Can't get alongside, clobbering those curbs, just doing anything in his power to get a slightly different line, get that air to the front of the car, get the downforce working for him, climbing the hill at 3 and 3A once again.
Apex have really got this car working well. I know their engineer has not felt in the best health this weekend. I think he was engineering from his hotel room yesterday, according to Jordan Pepper, after the race yesterday. But nonetheless, the car is extremely good, as you'd expect around here. This is their home circuit. Do the majority of their testing on these grounds here at Sonoma. That Lamborghini Huracan is looking really strong late in this stint. Getting close to that pit stop window opening at the 15-minute mark to go. That's when it opens, and within the next 10 minutes, you have to hit pit lane from that point forward.
Caldarelli has so much racing in the family. His father was a racer in Italy. His brother-in-law is Vinantonio Liuzzi, former F1 driver. Andrea himself had a sniff at F1, had a couple of tests, including one where he was technically maybe a bit underage. It had to be conducted in complete secrecy. That's how highly he was thought of, and has found a marvelous career for himself in sports car racing.
This battle is intense. Spinelli has just been super here today in terms of withstanding that pressure. Hasn't cracked yet. If he does allow this Huracan to get to the lead, I wonder if they would then elect to keep Andrea out there a little bit longer. As he sits in the second position, they may do that undercut. Jordan Pepper alluded to in his pre-race interview with Amanda.
We'll get to Amanda in just a moment. We will check in with her as the battle continues to rage at the front of the field. Amanda, quickly to you.
As you take a look at Stephen Agahani right here, I was watching him getting ready as we are creeping into those driver changes here. I just hypothetically threw out to him what it would be like if he goes into this race with Jordan Pepper behind him. Jordan Pepper was born in 1996. You're looking at a guy that was born in 2003, so it could simply come down to just sheer experience. But I was talking to Steven about it, and he said, it's not going to be fun, but it might be challenging. With long-term goals for Steven, he just wants to be out here gaining seat time and having fun as a race car driver.
About to have some fun, quite possibly from the lead of the race, if Loris Spinelli can hang on coming into the pit sequence. 54 minutes to go. Spinelli continues to lead Andrea Caldarelli.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Asus Republic of Gamers, Motul, Stay Frosty, and 511.
Continues to be a great fight at the front of the field, Calvin. You're looking closely at timing and scoring. What have you noticed?
Well, I noticed that Philip Ellis is on a charge right now. He's got that position 3 on the racetrack, and he's closing in a hurry, taking a second to a second and a half out of that lead right now. So that may force the issue for Caldarelli. He'll be aware of that. He'll be able to see him in that rear view facing camera and also getting that information from his team. So Spinelli definitely holding up Caldarelli a little bit late in the stage, and that's allowing both the teammate of Altoia, who sits 4th, and Philip Ellis aboard the number 33 Winward Racing Mercedes to close in on this lead battle. By the time that pit stop window opens, we could have 4 cars within a second or so.
Change the position further back. Dirk Muller made the move on Michael Cooper for the final podium spot in Pro-Am, and now we look out the windshield of Colin Brown's Mercedes, and you see Michael Cooper just trying to hang on late in this stint in his real-time racing Acura.
Yeah, you'd have to think they're going to probably run Michael a little bit deeper into this pit stop window, so he may need to be in that car for at least another 10 minutes or so to try and hang on to the car.
To Michael, he said, you know, we're always willing to roll the dice on tire strategy. Not sure what they elected to do, but sometimes one of the stints will be done on sticker tires, one will be done on scuffs, and he said he's willing to take the scuffs if that's what helps his co-driver Aaron Vogel. So see if she might be able to mount a charge when she gets behind the wheel in just a bit. For now, look at this. Caldarelli, he can get close, but Spinelli doesn't give him an opening.
He doesn't. It's going to be 2 more laps. Looking at the time on the board, it'll be 2 more laps before these leaders can dive into pit lane. How close will Philip Ellis be potentially by that stage of the race? Charlie Luck getting some last-minute instructions there from the Wright Motorsports crew. Ellis is flying, keeping Altoia in his wake there as well.
And that last lap was a full second faster than the race leader. So yes, no question about it. Winward Racing's got a setup for the long run. He is coming suited and booted. That is Jordan Pepper. He'll be taking a part in the fight here shortly. Loris Spinelli continuing to lead the way. Andrea Caldarelli right behind, but the man on the move for Winward Racing, the Swiss Philip Ellis right now, 3rd place, but a second a lap quicker than the top 2 cars.
Yeah, this is really compressing this top 3 or 4 here. Spinelli has really thwarted Caldarelli's potential during the first half of this race. With the championship still early days, the last thing Caldarelli wanted to do was risk. He knows that he's got a really strong teammate who should be the strongest driver in the second half of this race, so he's had to be super patient here, using every ounce of experience to not be rash and make an unwise choice in trying to make a move. There you see the time on the board, so someone deeper in the pack may take this early opportunity to duck to pit lane. These leaders will have that opportunity on the next lap. What will K-Pax do? I would have to feel if the number 6 car stays out, Caldarelli may die for pit lane.
And Altoia is pretty quick too. In the second K-Pax Lamborghini, he's quicker than the top 2 and is starting to reel them in. 5 seconds away from the pit window opening. We'll keep an eye on those in the middle of the pack, maybe looking to dive in and steal a march on those in the front. Pit window is open. The leaders will have that chance the next time around, as you say, Calvin. Caldarelli continuing to look, but Spinelli gives him no chance to make a move.
The problem if he doesn't come, then he's going to have to defend from Ellis. So he's he's kind of the meat in the sandwich of this lead trio right now, is Caldarelli. Key will be, what does the 6 car do? We know that Avicani has good pace, but Spinelli has the track position. I would assume we're trying to maintain it. But then if the 1 car comes, you'd have to think that the 6 car would have to follow him in on the next lap. Otherwise, with Pepper on fresh tires, he's going to be a monster on that opening lap.
On board, second place car, K-Pax Racing. Andrea Caldarelli. Does he make the dive to pit lane? Does Spinelli head him off at the pass and come in himself? How about Windward? What will they do with the DTM man, Philip Ellis?
I think Windward may stay out. That would be my call. He cuts across the grass there in turn 9.
He's been pushing. It might be an in-lap for him. Here we go. Top 2 come in. Second 2 stay out. Interesting. So now it comes down to these race teams to have clean pit stops here, Calvin.
Yeah, and the key is going to be trying to eat into that 1 second joker. The minimum time on pit lane total is 87 seconds. That's from pit in to pit out, including the service. 4 new Pirelli P0s will go on these cars, driver change, and then it's all about executing, releasing the car in the nick of time so you're not run afoul of that. It's a drive-through penalty if you're too long or too short on pit lane. But there's a 1 second joker. You need up to 1 second shy of that number only once per weekend. I do not believe either of those 2 leaders used it up yesterday.
As expected, most of the Pro-Am field, if not all, will stay out. They'll try to maximize the drive times of the pros in the lineups. Meanwhile, top 2 in the pits, K-Pax Racing, driver change, tire change, and VP Racing fuel going in. Now it's that orchestrated ballet, the pit stop of GT3 Racing.
You can see there, 4 mechanics allowed to work on the car. There's 2 tire guys, 1 gun. Good tire change here is probably right around the 20-second mark, so you got plenty of time to work with. Just cool efficiency here. No panic, no muss, no fuss.
Fuel is done. Driver change and tire change complete. The car sitting stationary. That is a good sign. That means they've done their service in plenty of time, and now they release so as not to run afoul of the minimum time on the pit lane.
And there you see it.
K-Pax to the front.
Yeah, just a little bit tighter on their release time. They take a half a second out, so their start was 86.5. That's underneath the 87-second minimum, but using up that joker compared to Spinelli's, which was some 3 seconds slower. So just a little bit of lack of experience there with the US Racetronics team, I'd have to feel, being a bit more conservative with that start time, and that has cost them that track position.
Goes to show just how important that pit lane execution is, and how many times have we said it, Calvin? The K-Pax Racing team wins the battle on pit road, jumps a spot or 2. That has been par for the course for the last few seasons.
Now the key is going to be this, the undercut versus the overcut. Oh, problems for the 6 team. Got a loose wheel or something? Seems like something's amiss with that right front, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. That's Stephen Agakani in the erstwhile race-winning car, leading car.
The tire was cut down.
It is. And what happened here? It happened in the middle of the carousel.
Oh, that is a heartbreaker for that team. Brilliant performance here yesterday. Now he's got to try and limp this car back to pit lane without getting too much damage on it.
It's not much salve on the wound, but what a great job by Agakani to save that car.
Don't see any damage up front. It's very bizarre that this early in the run, unless he just rode one of the curbs, oh, there we see some, that could have just come from a curb with the wheel bit, with the tire being down, where he's run over one of the curbs. Now we see Altuve on and off. He's done that several times today. He may be feeling there's an advantage in doing that. The stewards will definitely be looking at it. Sector time as Ellis. Dominoes are falling now. Ellis, Altuve to pit lane. Overcut for these guys versus the undercut for the others.
Well, they will pick up the spot on the US Racetronics car due to its issues, but yes, now we see where do they shake out compared to the overall leader, or the car that will be the overall leader once the sequence comes through, the K-Pax Racing car of Pepper and Caldarelli. Meanwhile, here we go. This is Pro-Am. Jan Halen still driving, going as deep into the window as he can before he turns it over to his teammate and father-in-law, Charlie Luck.
Yeah, we expected to see that. Going to try and keep your pros in as long as you can. Here comes Altoe. Good opening stint there. Use that off-course excursion, I think, effectively, particularly on your in-lap. It's hard to monitor that for the race stewards. Why not just effectively shortcut the circuit a little bit? Don't have to worry about damaging the tires or anything. You're coming in a pit lane anyway for a fresh set.
Two teams that have plenty of experience with pit stops in Windward and in K-Pax. Here comes the Pepper-driven Lamborghini. He goes wide in the hairpin.
Yeah, he's not got the tires up to temp just yet. Runs really wide through there, so I expected a monster lap for Pepper. That's not going to be the case, as he's gradually getting in the sweet spot. So you'd expect the 33 car. Beats the 3 car out of pit lane. Russell Ward now behind the wheel of that Mercedes. Misha Goldberg behind the wheel of the number 3 bright green yellow Huracan.
And crucially, Pepper flies through, so even with that miscue, you can move K-Pax Racing to the front of the field. Ran the opening stint in 2nd place, but when this all cycles through, it's going to be Jordan Pepper leading Russell Ward, and then Misha Goldberg now driving this number 3 car.
Yeah, so effectively the undercut works. So what that means is Pepper's outlaps, even though they weren't completely efficient, still a little bit quicker than Philip Ellis's in-lap on well-worn Pirelli tires.
Pro-Am, Jan Halen out in front. He'll do at least one more lap. Be tight to do 2. Farmbacher 2nd, Moeller up to 3rd in class. And yes, as expected, everybody staying out as long as possible. Just about everyone, actually, we should say. ST Racing has gone ahead and made the switch. Samantha Tan now driving after Nick Whitmer started that car.
And Halen here, he'll be in this lap. I think he's got enough time to play with doing another one, and you don't want to cut it too close in case you have a problem on that in-lap. That would be a drive-through penalty if you missed it even by a second. There's no buffer on getting a pit lane like you have with the pit stop execution. You have to be on pit lane by 50 minutes into this race.
Dirk Moeller 3rd in Pro-Am. Michael Dinan on fresh tires. One of the Pro Class cars for Turner Motorsport right behind. He's just been installed in this car and couldn't get around Dirk. That will stymie his chances of a good outlap.
Yeah, basically he's a lap down on Dirk at this stage of the game. Then Mueller's going to lose all of that, or that car will lose all of that time on pit lane with the switch over to David Askew.
But a good visualization of the difference between fresh tires and tires that have gone the better part of an hour.
Well, you look like a hero, that is for sure. I mean, it's a different ball game completely. And you got those fresh sticky tires on there and doing their job versus someone who's trying to hang on for a long 50-minute stint.
Riley Motorsports releases George Kurtz, now driving the CrowdStrike-sponsored Mercedes. Here comes Moeller into the pit lane. David Askew, who had the crash yesterday, set to start, and the Pro-Am leader in the pits.
That's great execution here. What a day it was for these two drivers celebrating their first race as co-drivers. Jan Halen married Charlie Luck's daughter last November, so family ties there. Just a wonderful story, and got the big win here yesterday.
For Jan and the team looking to defend the Pro-Am Championship, this might be their competition for a lot of this season. Racer's Edge, how good have they been over the last few years? A couple of championships in different classes. Totally new driver lineup, though, here this year, but both drivers the team knows well from the HPD GT3 Academy, which Racer's Edge helps to run.
Yeah, one as a student. Oh no, this is Scott Smithson off the road. Not sure if this is his outlap.
Not sure either if he can get out. I think it is his outlap. I saw that car in the pits when we were on board with Colin Brown a few moments ago. Good pit stop for the Racer's Edge team. Now they just wait for the right time. And they release Ashton Harrison.
She's been doing a very, very solid job. He's got a ton of seat time in this car recently. Got the seat with 12-hour in a Pro class, and it was only about a second and a half off the ultimate pace for this stage of her career. That is really good driving. He's taken it all in, spends a lot of time with Wayne Taylor Racing, being embedded in their race team. Just learning the ropes, learning how the drivers debrief, what sort of information is important, how the engineers then digest that information. part of the Honda and Acura family.
I saw a funny quote from her to that effect about she's been part of the Wayne Taylor family for a while from her Super Trofeo driving, and so she's been able to sit in some of their debriefs and things like that, and then she realized at Sebring, oh, I'm taking part in this debrief. I'm not just listening, so I'm actually a big part of what's going on, and sounds like she really enjoyed that experience. Expect to see big things out of her as her career continues to progress. Jordan Pepper knifing through lap traffic out in front.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Acura, BMW M, and Ferrari.
Pit stops have cycled through here at Sonoma Raceway. Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, round 2 of the championship that runs through October, culminating in the Indianapolis 8-hour, part of the Intercontinental GT Challenge, powered by Pirelli. That's the one long endurance race on the schedule. The rest, these 90-minute almost a sprint. You got the pit stop in the middle, 2 drivers. It's been the format of the championship for the last few years. And Jordan Pepper, K-Pax Racing, they have been the masters of this format going back to their Bentley days.
They really have, and it's a formidable lineup when you take the organization, K-Pax as a whole, with their engineering squad, the resources that they have to work with. Great car with the Lamborghini Huracan that they now know for the 2nd year. They were great last year. Now they've got that notebook every track they go to. Admittedly, this is their home circuit, but even so, every track they go to, they're going to get stronger and stronger.
Sounds like a problem with the wheel that caused the tire to go down.
Looks like something's machined the wheel, so maybe something got trapped when they put the wheel on. Something was trapped in there and literally just lathed the wheel in half and caused the tire to go down.
Full course yellow, most likely. Yep, there's the culprit. Once again, Scott Smithson still stuck in the culvert there. I think he's avoided the barrier. That's the good news, but he's lost a ton of time, including at least 1 lap. So chances of victory in class for Scott and Brian Sellers appear to have gone by the wayside. This is what happened to bring out the yellow.
Yeah, just coming down into turn 4. Just loses the rear end, tries to hang in there with it. So I think it's just cold tires, get caught out there a little bit. Admittedly, they've been in the tire warmers, but still not optimum pressures and tires, and Smithson just caught out there a little bit, unfortunately.
This will totally reset the field. Should make for a fascinating final 30 minutes or so of this race, and it wipes out a lead of over 9 seconds for Jordan Pepper. Russell Ward now closes in, Misha Goldberg closes in. And the Pro-Am battle is totally fresh too, where the AMs are going to settle this in a pure fight.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Just over 36 minutes remaining. Safety car deployed for the first time here at Sonoma. Safety car on the course for a spin. Scott Smithson went around, was stranded in the culvert, and that has forced us to go behind the safety car here with just over 36 minutes remaining. While we're under the yellow, let's check in with Amanda down in the pits.
Well, we were curious of what was happening with that front right wheel of Stephen Agacani. Had to come back into the pit right on his out lap. Well, actually, it was a split wheel, as you can see here. The team has been discussing this ever since he came back to the pit. DXDT has stopped by. Windward has stopped by. I talked to the team, said it was simply just bad luck. Maybe a stone got inside the wheel well and ended up just shearing that off. You're seeing about 3/4 of this wheel that's left. The rest, the other 1/4 of the half, is still inside the tire.
Yeah, they're also looking at those holes in the wheel center there is where the drive pins from the hub assembly actually locate. So I'm not sure if the wheel wasn't on quite correctly, but I think Amanda's spot on in her and the team's assessment that something basically got maybe trapped between the brake caliper and the wheel, and it's like putting something on a lathe where it just spins it around and just basically cuts that very straight line through the wheel itself. Then obviously you lose the air.
Talk about misfortune, though. That's not something you see every day.
It really isn't. There's been some bizarre happenings in GT3 racing around the world in the last couple of weeks with teams that have been in great shape suddenly having problems on pit lane, and that's another one for the notebook.
Interesting, Amanda pointed out those teams that had come by, and the common denominator was they're all Mercedes teams.
Right.
I think they will be a bit relieved that it looks like this was just a fluke incident, so nothing that is likely to carry over to their cars.
Well, there wasn't. I mean, we talked about the fact they gave up quite a few seconds to the K-Pax organization, but the car was sitting stationary. It wasn't like there was a big panic around that wheel, it looked like at the time of the pit stop. So they must have assumed everything was 100% okay with the car sitting still, waiting to launch.
Well, definitely tough luck for the US Racetronics team. They find themselves well down the order with Stephen Agakani currently 18th overall. And it looks like down a lap. That's what really is going to hurt them. Top 9 cars are all still on the same lap. Michael Dinan for Turner Motorsport, the final car on the lead lap. But also misfortune for Scott Smithson to have that spin. However, what this does then is it brings everybody back together, and with the top 4 in Pro now all on the same lap and all bunched together again, the top 5 in Pro-Am are all nose to tail right now, setting up for a spicy finish.
It's anyone's game. I mean, certainly Pepper would have to be the favorite in terms of having the track position and the pace that he's demonstrated all weekend long. Ward, though, you know he'll give it one. Misha Goldberg wants to make a statement in the second K-Pax entry, sitting 3rd on the road, 3rd in class. I think the real juicy stuff could be in that Pro-Am battle, led by Charlie Luck right now, with the number 45, Wright Motorsports Porsche, and Ashton Harrison will sit right behind him, and David Askew and George Kurtz, teammates last year, no longer, so that could get spicy.
Yes, and another former teammate, Aaron Vogel, who's running in 5th with the real-time racing team right now. So 1 current and 2 former DXDT racing drivers all set to line up 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Pro-Am.
They all ran on the same team last year. They're with 3 different teams.
Right.
One including DXDT, with obviously David Askew staying with his the team that he owns and operates.
Less than 30 minutes to go. This safety car also means a little less green flag running on these tires. Does that give these drivers more of an impetus to be able to just go and go hard when the green flag drops?
I think so, and I think we saw that with Jordan Pepper yesterday when he got that lead and built it. We thought, well, he'll just keep it there at about 10 seconds, and he just kept building and building and building, so he wasn't concerned about the tire deck here.
Cleanup continues at Sonoma Raceway with 32 minutes left to go in the race. Closing in, though, on a restart. Should be a lot of fun in this sprint to the finish in race 2 of the championship season. I'm not sure I've ever seen a car end up there before.
Yeah, it's early in that corner to lose it. Normally you're spinning off to the outside and maybe firing it back across. It was just a slow, lazy spin there with the tyres not quite up to temp, and car just got in yaw, and Scott unfortunately couldn't quite catch it. So he'll be bitterly disappointed, but he's a really talented young driver. I think Brian is excited to be co-driving with him this year. He really feels they can get some strong runs, get on the podium this year, if not more. So they'll bounce back, they'll regroup, but certainly not the start to their campaign that they were intending.
Think about the challenge that it has been the start to his GT3 career. His first GT3 start was on the streets of St. Pete in GT America, where he did a nice job, but I mean, that's a tough track to get your sea legs. Then you come here, one of the tightest, most technical circuits in North American road racing, and it doesn't let up, does it? I mean, you look at the schedule this season, there's no free passes. All these tracks have their challenge.
They really do. We go to some tremendous venues on the calendar this year, including our next event at the Ozarks International Raceway. Be great to get there with J.R. Pasick and the whole group there, what they've put together. Excited to see it. I know a lot of the drivers are excited to see it for the first time. I believe Jan Halen has been there, so I think he gave it the thumbs up. But a lot of these teams intend to test between now and then, because we understand it's one of those tracks that really takes a lot of getting used to. Lots of blind elevation, high speed, even more. You have elevation change in here, but it's relatively low speed, right? You get there, it's high speed sweeps. And they have a great caution light set up where they're high up so you can see it and be alerted if there's problems on the other side. So it's going to be a roller coaster ride for sure.
I think there's a few onboard laps floating around on the internet you can check out for yourself. Just look at the track map. That tells you all you need to know. Amazingly really complex place, and I think it'll be a thrill for all involved. It sounds like it's just a roller coaster ride. Good news for Scott Smithson. The car is out of the ditch where he had found himself, but again, well down the order, currently shown 20th of the 20 cars. Oh, it's still, the remaining time will be good for him just to get some extra seat time, get some effectively testing done as he gets used to his new GT3 platform. New to him, that's for sure, coming from the touring car ranks as he has in recent years. Less than a half an hour remaining in this 90-minute affair. Race 2 of the weekend here at Sonoma Raceway for Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Top 3 cars are all from the Pro class, and it will be Jordan Pepper, Russell Ward, and Misha Goikhberg set to battle it out. Then you drop back and find Charlie Luck leading the way in Pro-Am, a race winner yesterday, looking to back that up and sweep the weekend. But Ashton Harrison, David Askew, George Kurtz, Aaron Vogel, they all have different ideas, and we'll see that play out once we go back to green. Now, though, down once again to the pit lane, and Amanda Busick. Looks like Amanda might be having a few issues with her equipment, but we'll be checking in with her again here shortly. Tell you what, I can't wait to see how the Pro-Am battle plays out. Let's try it one more time with Amanda in the pits.
Well, we've been talking about the father-in-law and son-in-law duo of Jan Halen and Charlie Luck. Well, this is the common denominator here, the wife and daughter, and we've talked about their experience. What's this like for you to see it unfold?
It's been really fun seeing them able to race together. I originally met Jan when my dad started racing with Wright Motorsports, and so to see both of them out here and to be together as a family, I feel like we're all cheering him on and everything, and all of our cousins and friends and family, they all think it's so fun, so it's been a really great experience so far.
When they got the win yesterday, how special was that for you?
It was really special. I was super happy for my dad. He just loves this so much, and you know, I've been around Jan throughout his racing career, and so it's been really exciting for my dad, so it's been great.
Thank you, Margaret. And Jan, as we were talking a little bit, we have a little bit of a safety car, so I want to ask you, I heard you've seen a preview of Ozarks International. What can you tell us about the track?
It's very challenging, to say the least. Very high speed, little runoff, high risk. It's a place that, I don't know. We've had a few team meetings about this, and I think we need to take a very different approach to this one and just try to survive and not come away with too much damage. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes with with all the cars on track. When we were testing, it was a private test day with just the one car, and even that showed to be challenging. So,
thank you.
Interesting tidbits there on the upcoming trip to the new Ozarks International Raceway. Now, though, green flag flies here over Sonoma Raceway. Once again, Jordan Pepper leading the way, right behind Russell Ward. No, that's actually a lapped car, excuse me. That's one of the AM class cars.
Ward is really wide. Misha Goikhberg may be able to take advantage there. You saw the grey and blue number 33 car, Russell Wide, really wide there through turn 2. Couldn't get the grip on the front end.
Looked like that was Charlie Scardino. He just wanted to get out of the way, but that caused a huge backup. Good news for Pepper. He's able to sprint ahead. Ward's able to gather it back in, and Misha Goikhberg, like you called, Cal, he's looking for P2.
Yeah, Misha's had a ton of success over the last few years in prototypes and in GT3 competition. He knows this Lamborghini Huracan well with a different team that he's run out in various championships, so don't expect him to be shy and forcing the issue here.
Race control issuing a drive-through penalty to car 94. That's Chandler Hull in the Bimmer World car started by Bill Oberlin. Pit stop violation, so he'll have to make a call to the pit lane. Oh, this is tight stuff. Aaron Vogel in the NSX, working with Stephen Agakani around her. George Kurtz up ahead. It gets tight quick here in Sonoma.
Yeah, unfortunately for Agakani, with that milled wheel and slow trip to pit lane, he's gone down a lap. He's got a fast race car. Got to try and fight hard and see if he can get back on that lead lap somehow, but it's going to be really, really difficult sledding here. It's just damage limitation at this point.
Pro class. It's not an overall class. It's a pro class. So these passes for overall position do not pay any more points at the end of the race. That's different than it has been in some years in the past. Not last year, though, as we see Chandler Hull make that call to the pit lane to serve the drive-through penalty.
I wonder if they were in early. I remember him releasing from his pit box when some of the leaders were coming in, so I wonder if they just got a little bit wrong in their calculation as to when pit lane exactly opened. They were deeper in the pack, so they had the opportunity of jumping in as one of the first cars. So
the big mover on the restart was Michael Dinan. He picked up 3 positions overall. He still has 2 Pro-Am cars to clear before he gets to the top 3 in Pro. Another big mover, Samantha Tan, up 3 spots on that restart. She's now 7th in Pro-Am, 11th overall.
yeah, she's having a really strong weekend. Super impressed with her. She's gaining confidence every single year. She has Nick Johnson, who's an excellent sports car driver himself. A lot of experience, been working with her both on the mental, the physical side, and just the coaching side when she's behind the wheel. And he's been very impressed with her progress. Says she's now showing big improvements in lap times. We just got to get it a little bit more consistent. But we have a big plan. We want to get to Le Mans in the next 4 or 5 years. And they certainly have the resources and the ability as a team to do just that.
Pepper has built a big lead early. Russell Ward now with some breathing room over Misha Goikberg. So we drop back to Pro-Am, and that's where the fight is, with Charlie Luck leading Ashton Harrison by just over a second. You go a little bit further back, that's where you find this car, George Kurtz, right now trying to run down his former team boss, former teammate, David Askew.
Ashton Harrison there going through that turn 11 hairpin. Just seems to be very poised. She doesn't seem to be overwhelmed by the new hotbed of competition that she's been thrown into. Seems to take it all in her stride, and I think that's just a testimony to the experiences that she's been privy to with being with some of the big teams in big race moments and understanding what the pressure is all about, and then feeling that yourself. It's obviously different from the sidelines to being in the heat of the battle and in the kitchen itself, but she's doing everything very, very well.
She's got Michael Dinan closing in now. Dinan again running 4th in the Pro class for Turner. Needs to get by Harrison, needs to get by Luck if he's going to be able to threaten Misha Goikberg. That is Dinan in the Liqui BMW M4 GT3. First weekend in GT World Challenge America competition for the new M4.
Yeah, he and Misha were basically bumped back up to the Pro class just before the green flag here yesterday. So they've had to absorb that, digest that, and just move forward with the program. Thought they were going to be in Pro-Am for the year, but looking at their performances throughout the course of this weekend, the decision was made that they would now be moved to the Pro class, just like Michael was in last year. But he's got a different machine underneath him this year as Ashton is trying to make room for him. This is just getting a little bit awkward there. They're trying to play nice, but losing a lot of lap time by doing so.
That's costing both of them time to their respective class leaders. Now here comes Dinan around the outside of Harrison, makes the move. Jason Harwood right behind him, the Zalus Lamborghini. That is not for position. He is down a lap, running in the 16th spot as it stands. But everyone's all jumbled up after that full course yellow.
Things will settle in now. Dinan should be a little bit quicker, so hopefully he can take off and chase down the rest of the pack, allow Ashton to just get into her rhythm, and then we'll be able to see if she has the pace to maybe chase down Charlie Luck for this Pro-Am class win here today.
You were mentioning how impressive Samantha Tan has been. She's clicked off 2 more spots on each, or on the last 2 laps combined. So one spot each lap over the last 2, passing Justin Wetherill, then passing Aaron Vogel. So now Samantha's up to 5th in Pro-Am.
Yeah, Kurtz has caught the tail end of Askew right now, but it's allowing Samantha Tan to get ever closer. This is about 3.5 seconds down the road, so certainly within striking distance for Samantha as she negotiates this very tricky downhill. Turn 6 carousel turn. Using every inch of the road there on the exit. You grab 4th gear just as you're exiting that corner. Up to 5th. Hard on the brakes. Turn 7. Change of surface right there as well.
It's the AM class leader, JC Sada, I believe, out her windshield. Here's another fight between a couple of cars. Just Wetherill, I believe, getting a little bit loose there and dropping a spot up in the front. There comes Samantha Tan, ST Racing. Beautiful Van Gogh-inspired livery, getting closer and closer, trying to run down George Kurtz, who currently holds P4.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Lamborghini, Lexus, and Mercedes AMG.
Jordan Pepper continuing to lead for K-Pax Racing. 7.8 seconds the advantage. Here, though, is the scrap for the third spot. George Kurtz for Riley Motorsports, David Askew for DXDT Racing, a pair of Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evos on just about even footing, but George Kurtz has had the edge over the last few laps.
Yeah, he has, and I do not doubt that George is going to send it at some point between now and the checkered flag here this afternoon. Here's Donnie, he now gets around Charlie Luck, so now allows that battle for the Pro-Am lead to have no buffer in between. There you see Charlie Luck aboard that Porsche, second car on frame right now, and Ashton Harrison, that bright red Acura, giving chase.
Shouldn't be more than about 3 seconds between Dynan and Goikhberg up the road. So that is the pursuit of the final step of the podium, if I'm reading that right.
Spot on, I think. So certainly Dynan has some pace in that Turner Motorsports BMW. Trying to put it to use here. He doesn't have a ton of time to work with, but he may have enough of an advantage to certainly get close to Goikhberg before the checkered.
There we go, fight is on. We've got George Kurtz working over David Askew, coming towards the hairpin. Askew guards the inside, Kurtz working the long way around.
This is fun. Two guys who know each other extremely well. Shared the same team, the same transporter for a couple of years, and now they're fighting out on the racetrack.
The out-of-class Ferrari was possibly playing into how that was going to play out, but don't sleep on Samantha Tan, who is closing in on these two. The more they battle, the closer Samantha gets.
Yeah, this is going to put the pressure on George to try and make a move here, so he's got to go after it right now, otherwise Samantha's going to be right on his tail and putting pressure on him.
Third, fourth, and fifth in Pro-Am. That's what's at stake here. Running with the fifth place car, Samantha Tan, the BMW onboard camera out the windshield. The two Mercedes she's chasing. George Kurtz in fourth, David Askew in third.
How fun is this to see Samantha's rise in terms of her speed through the last couple of seasons. She's always been very savvy, kept it clean. Just needed that little bit more aggression, and I think Nick Johnson has worked with her to find that.
Shaping up to be a tremendous battle for the final 16 minutes. Third, fourth, and fifth in Pro-Am, all in the same camera shot, roaring their way through the chicane. More of this still to come. 16.5 minutes to go. George Kurtz has closed on the back of David Askew, and in turn, Samantha Tan has closed on the pair of Mercedes. Third, fourth, fifth, up for grabs.
Board with Samantha there. Looked like he's dropped back a little bit from this battle. She was a lot tighter than this. Kurtz trying to figure out a solution to this problem he has right in front of him. His ex-teammate filling the road in a pretty much identical car, running with different teams now. CrowdStrike Racing with Riley Motorsports, the number 04.
Race Vision powered by AWS, corner speeds at the carousel, turn 6, and it's all Mercedes affair. How about that?
That's wild, isn't it? This showcases how that car is suited through that particular corner, can roll a lot of mid-corner speed, can attack up and over the rise. Pretty good on the lap, as we've seen also today, with Spinelli leading, a win with Mercedes, with Philip Ellis, and obviously Russell Ward as well now behind the wheel has showcased a lot of lap time as well. So it's not just certain sectors of this racetrack, also performs well in terms of the speed over the whole lap.
Watch and listen as George Kurtz continues to hunt David Askew.
Not a gambling man, but I'll put money on George is going to fire it down the inside here sooner or later.
has been busy. Lots of racing programs for George Kurtz already in 2022. He raced in the 24 Hours of Dubai, finished on the podium in class there. Big program here in SRO America. Wouldn't be surprised to see him over in Europe for a few more races.
His 4th race of the weekend here. Finished 2nd in this championship yesterday, then had a win yesterday in the GT America. Excuse me, 2nd yesterday, right?
Yes, that's right. Jason Dascalos won.
Flag being waved. Hard to make way though up this hill. High-speed sector of the racetrack. Turn 1, about 140, 142 miles an hour.
Jeff Burton on the receiving end of that blue flag, an advisory flag, letting him know cars on another lap coming up quicker. Oh, that was close.
George is feeling it. I think his car is rolling a bit more mid-corner speed than David is right now, but he can't do anything with it.
I'll say this, it's a robust defense from David Askew. He has not cracked under pressure one bit.
He hasn't.
This is where he had his crash yesterday.
Been proactive though, he really hasn't had to adjust his line too much, get too defensive, as we see Colin Brown watching on with the squad.
What are they going to do with Jeff Burton's lap Lamborghini? Jeff hog in the middle of the road just a little bit. Balks Askew.
This is where it can get a little bit messy for George. He's got to try and figure out what's going to happen here, and he's got Samantha Tanner suddenly close back in as well, so he can't just open up the radius to a corner and just try and fire up coming off the corner. He's got to be careful he doesn't open up the door. Jeff does the right thing here. Let this battle by. Nice job there by Jeff Burton.
Now Samantha Tan will want to make that same move so she can get back to that pair of Mercedes. Inside the final 15 minutes, and steps on the podium up for grabs. Burton trying to get out of the way, but oh.
That nearly got a little bit ugly.
Yes.
Trying to do the right thing and almost did the wrong thing.
It definitely hurt Samantha too. She dropped off quite a bit. She's been quick. She's reeled these two in before. Can she do it one more time? And then what can she do when she gets there? She was tremendous on that restart, Calvin. Picked up a couple spots on the initial lap, and then each of the next two, one more spot. Moving forward, now running in the 5th position.
Well, that's just the progression in her driving and her confidence level, as we said. ST Racing have been bouncing around the globe in terms of debuting this brand new BMW M4 chassis. They're the first to receive it. Had some problems initially. There's been quite a few updates since it was initially launched and rolled off the production line. Car 22 was delivered just last week to the Bimmerworld team. But by doing so, she's got a lot of seat time, a lot of experience in that car. Now they're going to be very focused more on the North American Championships here versus running a little bit further afield.
This is the overall leader. Haven't talked much about Jordan Pepper. His co-driver, Andrea Caldarelli, in the first stint set the fastest lap of the race, and no one has touched that CrowdStrike fastest lap ever since. A 1:37.2. What a lap.
Yeah, and I think for Pepper, you know, early in the race yesterday, he's trying to build a cushion, right? We thought he might try and go into maintenance mode, but he didn't, just get increasing that lead. We didn't see a yellow, and then suddenly Caldarelli just extended that up to the end of the race. But today, slightly different. When you're finishing, you certainly want to have something in the tank in case there is a yellow late in the going. You want to have some tires left. So I'm not sure the strategy in terms of scuffed tires versus new tires going on. Pepper's run as well. That could be a factor in terms of him not running the same sort of lap time that his teammate cut early in this race.
Ashton Harrison continuing her pursuit of Charlie Luck. A nice solid day for Ashton. Mario had that big move at the start of the race, jumped up to 3rd, and the great battle with Giacomo Altoe. Ultimately, a little bit of contact got him pushed wide, and he dropped a pair of spots, and that, in a sense, seemed to drop off a little more than some of the other cars did, at least today here at Sonoma. But since jumping in, Ashton Harrison has done what she can just to keep Charlie Luck honest. He's not driving away, that's for sure, and one little slip-up will bring Ashton right back into the equation with less than 10 minutes to go at Sonoma Raceway.
Today's coverage is brought to you by Porsche, Optima Batteries, and Skip Barber Racing School.
Problems on the track. That's Jeff Burton for Zalus Motorsports, who is slow. We understand that there might have been a moment as well for David Askew. We'll keep an eye out for that. But for now, it's Jeff Burton who seems to be in the biggest problem, or set of problems. Here is Askew, and yeah,
he's dropped way back. So I wonder if he went for a ride and Burton was following closely. Remember, he just let he and George Kurtz by. So they were in close proximity. Let's take a look here. Oh, that was tight there. George Kurtz right behind him. That's exiting turn 7.
Yeah, look at that. That's what George was looking at out the windshield. Oof. That promotes,
tight moment.
Promotes George up to 3rd, though. So the final step of the podium right now to the Riley Motorsports driver. But Samantha Tan is there. So that fight is not done quite yet. That, though, that mistake cost David Askew 4 positions. He's now back to 7th in Pro-Am.
Yeah, it's going to be a disappointment. He's just got to try and settle back down. 8 minutes on the board, try and cut through some of those positions, try and get back up into the top 5. Gives George free rein ahead. Let's see what he can do up against Samantha Tan, who's still right there, shadowing him. And I think the battle up front is getting tight as well for the Pro-Am lead between Luck and Harrison.
How cool is this? George has been driving GT3 cars at this level for several seasons. Samantha Tan has done some GT3 racing in the last few years, but is still pretty new to it. Certainly is in this championship. That's Nick Whitmer. He's a happy guy, co-driver. He started this car looking on. It's awesome to see just how quickly she's gotten up to speed.
It really is. Top 5 finish yesterday. We're ecstatic with that, and more to come today, potentially.
Ground Strike Racing, Mercedes, ST Racing, right there at the BMW. That is the fight for the final step of the podium. Meanwhile, it's hotting up at the front of Pro-Am. So much going on here in Sonoma. A spin for David Askew has seen him plummet down the order from 3rd in Pro-Am down to 7th. He's been able to continue on. Meanwhile, Ashton Harrison has run down Charlie Luck with under 7 minutes to go. This is for the Pro-Am win.
It is game on right now. Charlie Luck's going to feel pressure like he hasn't seen before in this race here today. Gets a little bit wide there through turn 9. Is the handling going away a little bit on that Porsche? Ashton looks to be very composed here. Car is handling well. Can she get that accurate to the front here in the last 6 minutes of this race?
She just holding back, saving something in reserve to go on a last-minute charge. That's what it looks like from the outside, at least, as she has closed down a gap that was multiple seconds wide. Coming to the line, that's the team looking on. A lot of stress in the pit lane.
Mario there in the background. Farmback, she fires it in there. Nowhere to go with that move. But she's certainly letting her intentions known there to Charlie Luck. Filling that rear view facing camera of his and the side view mirrors at the same time.
Jordan Pepper continues to lead overall, nearly 20 seconds over Russell Ward. Misha Goikberg runs 3rd. Michael Dinan has started to reel him in. It's 3.5 seconds between the two, and Dinan has been the quicker of the pair, but Goikberg has responded with good laps over the last couple. So this is the best fight we have for the lead in Pro-Am, which also is 5th and 6th overall.
A little mistake there by Ashton. Just picked up the throttle a little bit early, washed out wide, got in the grey, couldn't get the power down, so got to settle back in again. Still got some time to play with, but she's got to go on the attack here.
graduate of the HPD GT3 Academy, made her debut in Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, as part of the Indianapolis 8-hour last year. She teamed with Mario Farmback. The U.S. portion paid points at the 3-hour mark, and she and Mario were out front, not just in class, but overall. And in so doing, she became the first female driver to win overall in a GT3 car in SRO American competition.
Dynan is on the charge. A little edge, not a lot, just about a kilometer or so in terms of the trap speed compared to the Lamborghini, so they're pretty evenly matched. And on the lap time there, yeah, just a 10th. So he's eaten into that gap to Misha Goiksberg, but Goiksberg's done a tremendous job of handling that pressure. Admittedly, not right there, but knowing that he's getting closer. It's been a good charge, though, by Michael Dynan.
It has. Remember, when they restarted, he was well down the order. He had a bunch of Pro-Am cars he had to get through to even be in a position to chase down the rest of the cars in his class. He was able to get through that traffic and turned in some good laps. But Goiksberg has managed the gap beautifully ever since. It got down to about 3 seconds, and it stayed there.
See how bumpy it is there into the brake zone for turn 7. Then you see the change in surfaces there. That light gray supposedly doesn't generate much grip. Then power down off of turn 7A, up through the S's, flat out, and then a little brake here. Settle the front back down, and then back to power to finish off these S's on the run down to turn 9.
Just 3.5 minutes left. That's all that separates Jordan Pepper, Andrea Caldarelli, and K-Pax Racing from another sweep of the weekend on home turf here at Sonoma. They did that very same thing 1 year ago. They've been equally dominant in the second year of this package.
Yeah, it's not the dominant margin they showed yesterday, but still tough to beat. Caldarelli was held at bay by Spinelli there in the opening stanza. Great job by the number 16 from US Racetronics. Then unfortunately that wheel share kind of milled and cut down there on the opening lap for Agakani, so their day was ruined with that one, but certainly showcased their potential for a new team in this championship.
Traffic for the race leader to work through. Conway Luck solidifying that race lead. And last time by, Harrison was just a little bit quicker, but we're talking tenths of a second.
Well, the key with her experience, when you get this close, you can only take baby chunks. You can't just suddenly go into the corner a lot deeper than you've never done before, or pick up the throttle half a second earlier. It's all about just small increments and just trying to inch in and just close that gap here with not a lot of time remaining.
Especially so this deep into a tire run.
Yeah, the margins are even smaller then. You can't take a big advantage of the grip level that's given to you. Just keep it nice and tidy. See if Charlie will crack here a little bit, make a mistake and allow you to get really close and potentially make a move.
Change for 5th in Pro-Am. Ziad Gondor around Aaron Vogel. It's 9th and 10th overall, 5th and 6th in the Pro-Am class. Z-Hog, as he's known, giving that TR3 Lamborghini a nice run.
Charlie's doing a really great job. I think he just went from strength to strength last year with the experience of the Wright Motorsports team. The affiliation that he has with them, it feels like a family, feels like a home. He's got a son-in-law on board. This will be a fun year for that whole group.
Fun start to the year for this group, too. Of course, Conrad Grunwald, J.C. Sada out in front of the AM class, and they got a reprieve by virtue of the safety car following when and where it did. It split them from the Triarci AM class car by a lap, effectively. So not a huge fight, unlike what we saw yesterday, which was a battle for the ages. Just 2 cars in the class, but they were going at it hammer and tong, lap after lap.
Pepper. What a performance. What a stud he is. The K-Pax team recognized that when he ran as a Bentley driver with them. Jim Huey and the whole group said, he is our man moving forward. He is our future. And he didn't disappoint.
Fans watching in Europe, you'll get a chance to see this car, this driver lineup, plus Marco Mappelli. And this K-Pac's team at the Total Energies 24 Hours of Spa this year. They've announced a return, at least for that one race, K-Pac's Racing. Take the white flag with just 3 seconds left on the clock. But cool to have that European leg to their championship once again after a season overseas a few years back.
This is a big break for Ashton Harrison here because that Lamborghini, the #1 car, got back to the line before time ran out. Gives her basically a lap and a bit here to try and go attack for the lead and for the win.
Not what Charlie Luck wanted to see.
No.
If he's going to get his second straight win to begin his GT World Challenge America career, he's got an extra 2.5 miles with which to earn it. Coming around turn 12, looking for the white flag. And here's the fight for the Pro-Am lead. Charlie Luck in the Porsche, Ashton Harrison in the NSX.
She's pushing hard, she really is. She's doing a great job. She's chasing it, she wants it.
All it takes is that one bobble, and she is right there, heaping all the pressure she can muster onto the veteran, Charlie Luck, a driver with experience back to the 80s. And
she's closing big time, Ryan.
Yep. Former NASCAR stock car driver, Charlie Luck. He's been in traffic before. He's going to need to use all that experience to keep the young Charger at bay and Ashton Harrison. But back to the front, on board with the race leader, Jordan Pepper coming through, turn 10 for the final time.
Quite the ride. What a performance by the home team. K-Pac's delivering.
Through the hairpin, the #1 machine was #1 on timing and scoring. Through turn 12, K-Pac's, Pepper, and Caldarelli sweep the weekend here in Sonoma.
Chris Ward there, Lamborghini North American program manager right there. Big support from Lamborghini with this whole effort. Darren Law on the wall looking for the second car to come across the line. Misha hopefully can hold on that podium. Ashton there a little bit wide there coming off of turn 9. It's like Charlie may just have enough in hand to hang on.
A little bit of lap traffic up ahead, but Jeff Burton might be too far in front of this fight to have an effect on the outcome. Charlie Luck, Jan Halen teaming up for the first time in this championship yesterday. They got the win. They'll win again. 2 for 2 to start the season for Wright Motorsports, Jan Halen and Charlie Luck.
That was a great little battle though. Racers Edge will be pleased to get their first podium of the year. Really strong run. That yellow certainly compressed the field and gave us a good little battle there at the end.
And your AM winners for the second straight day. 2 wins to begin the 2022 campaign. Of course, Conrad Grunwald, JC Sada pick up the victory, their second consecutive to begin the new year. Well, K-Pac's Racing flexed the muscle. As you would expect, this is a good track for them. A lot of testing here. This is where a track they dominated a year ago. Don't think it's going to come quite this easy, though, the rest of the season. And we saw the potential from a few of the teams. And certainly in the first half of this race, Laura Spinelli, US Racetronics, they were ready to answer the challenge.
They were, and it's a great team. They've had huge success over the last handful of years with Aga Khani is their main driver, but this is a big step up for them, so congratulations to the whole group on making a big impression here first time out.
Provisional race results from round 2 of the championship. Pepper and Caldarelli, your race winners overall and in the pro class. Pro cars taking the top 4 spots. Michael Dinan did get within 3.5 seconds of Misha Goikberg for the final podium step, but could not get any closer. Charlie Luck fended off Ashton Harrison for the Pro-Am win. George Kurtz completed the podium in 3rd. ST Racing, Samantha Tant, good run, up to 4th ahead of Ziad Gondor in 5th. And the M class winners down in 15th overall. JC Sada, Conrad Grunwald stay perfect to begin the 2022 campaign. Great field of cars, good racing throughout the weekend. A whole lot more still to come in 2022 with the trip up next to the brand new Ozarks facility in Missouri. Cars making their way down the pit lane, and we'll be hearing from our victors here shortly. That's the turn all the drivers want to make. Back to the paddock area and to the podium at Sonoma Raceway. We'll be chatting with our class winners here shortly. Virtuoso performance, though, as expected from Pepper and Caldarelli.
Yeah, strong year last year, bringing the whole group together. And this year they're going to be even tough because they're just building. They know what they're doing. They've got a notebook every racetrack they go to. The chemistry is ever stronger. Pepper, they're totally fired up. There's no weak link there, but you know, I think there was enough performance shown by some of the rest of the cars in that pro class that there'll be occasion where they're going to have to fight a little bit harder for it than they did this weekend.
Amazing what K-Pax can do, and it speaks to the quality of the team. It doesn't matter what manufacturer they're associated with. Think back to their history. Porsche, Volvo, McLaren, Bentley, Lamborghini. Doesn't matter. They're always at the front.
They are. I mean, just top to tail. You got Jim Huey at the top. Team owner delivers the resources to allow the group to do their job. Thomas Blam, excellent strategist overall, big picture thinker. Tommy Sadler kind of holding the reins in terms of the mechanical performance of the race car. Darren Law, program manager. They got all of the right pieces, excellent engineers as well. And, you know, when you deliver them a car like the Lamborghini and then two drivers like Pepper and Caldarelli, tough to beat.
As we've seen on display, that is Jordan Pepper taking a big sigh, big breath of air. He had his work cut out for him, even if he did have a lead, still had a job to do and was picture perfect working his way through the traffic. How about in Pro-Am, what Wright has done 1 year to the next, different driver lineup, but no change in results.
No, and Charlie Luck, it's great to get a win, but when you're the driver behind the wheel as he celebrates with his daughter there, Margaret, that's pretty cool stuff. Family will be ecstatic with that one.
As Amanda alluded to, so much family for the Lucks and the Halens on site here this weekend to celebrate two big wins in the Pro-Am class. Wright Motorsports back on top as they've been so often over the years. Victory Lane is a happy place. Let's go there. That's where Amanda is standing by.
And Andrea Caldarelli is making his way to us right now. But, Jordan, you had some big moments here this week. And I want to go back to qualifying and those wet conditions. Just absolutely stellar performance for you. Now getting the checkered flag here today. How do you rate this opening weekend for yourself?
Yeah, it was a good weekend. I think the car was seriously good, so the team did an incredible job to give us a great car, Lamborghini support throughout the winter. I think we quite shown that we made a good big step, and the wet was awesome, probably one of my best qualifyings ever. It was really good fun, and then the races were pretty cool as well, you know. So Andrea had a crazy fight. There was a good battle there. Him and Loris went into the distance, and then they got caught, and it was a good battle. So made for some good entertainment, and luckily he handed me the car with perfect strategy. We jumped the field, and then it was just easy for me to bring it home. So shout out to every single crew member from K-Pax, Andrea, of course, for doing a stellar job, and yeah, let's just keep the momentum going.
I'm going to go from that straight to you, Andrea. Jordan was talking about the battle that you had with Loris. It's not often we see you in those kind of situations. What can you gain from that?
I mean, yeah, it was good fun. Before the race, I said I really would like to have some fun today, and it did happen. So yeah, I mean, it was a fair battle. We didn't try to take too many risks. We knew it's the second race of the year, so there was no sense to be crazy and do something stupid. But it was good fun, and then we knew that we had to do a good strategy at the pit stop, and the guys did an amazing job at the pit stop and with the timing. And yeah, thanks to all the team, Lamborghini Squadra Corsa for the support, K-Pax Racing, all the guys at the workshop, and also to Seb, our engineer that was not here with us today, but this weekend goes to him, definitely.
Congratulations.
I'll echo those sentiments. It certainly was fun to watch that battle at the front of this race with Laura Spinelli and Andrea Caldarelli, two excellent GT drivers showing their quality in that fantastic duel in the first stint of the race. Let's check in with Amanda once again. Pro-Am winners are standing by.
Well, the guys were talking about, while you did get the win yesterday, this is the first time that you brought it home, seeing the checkered flag. A big weekend for you, Charlie, racing in GT4. You attempted pit stops for the first time this weekend, and I would say you did well. What will you take from this one?
Yeah, well, you know, people think that pit stops aren't a big deal, like you just hop in and hop out. Well, yesterday, obviously, I started, so I was coming out easier. Going in, there's a ton of stuff between belts and timers and all these complexities. So, frankly, I was anxious about it, and you don't want to get penalized because we're dealing with half a second, 0.2 of a second in terms of time. So, it was a phenomenal weekend, I'm telling you. And I have Jan to thank. Come here, Jan. So, this guy taught me how to do fast pit stops and a million details to make great pit stops. So, I owe a ton to this guy.
And that's your father-in-law, Jan. What are you most looking forward to this season?
Well, I mean, we ended on a good note last year, and we're just going to try and do it all over, this season. But did not expect the result here this weekend. So for us, this is two big wins because we clearly didn't have the ultimate pace. So it's just, testament to the team and Charlie, everybody in the team doing a great job this weekend to pull off 2 wins when the speed wasn't there. So great job.
Nice job.
2 big, broad smiles on their faces, and why not a sweep of the weekend? I don't think they swept a weekend last year, if memory serves.
Yeah,
check that.
They won 3 races on the year. I think you're spot on. I do not think they swept a weekend. So, but super consistent. It was 9 podiums for the year or something. So.
Yes. 7 podiums last year, 3 wins. Did not sweep any weekends, but it was a rare thing to see them off the podiums last year. Quickly back down to Victory Circle.
Well, JC Sada and Conrad's, they ended up getting the win here today, but it wasn't without adversity. JC got back only 3 tires. You had problems with the front left. How'd you do it?
Well, it was the rear left, actually. It was an old used tires because we had a leak in the first one and in the new tire. And so it was sketchy out there, but we made it. It's like the old saying, you go to war with the weapons you have, not the weapons you wish you had, right? But I also want to recognize this phenomenal crew right here. Where's the rest of you guys? Where did they go?
Congratulations to the Ferrari team.
We did not have a car.
Yeah, that's a remarkable job by the AF Corsa crew, doing a great job to get that car ready to go. They had an engine change earlier in the weekend that they had to work through, dealing with the misfire. The backup car suffered some damage in the testing that they were doing earlier in the week, and they fought through all of that and picked up a pair of wins. Showed some really strong pace as well, especially with Conrad Grunwald behind the wheel. AF Corsa, fantastic team. You expect nothing less from an outfit of that caliber. Wrapping up all of the Victory Circle activities here at Sonoma. 2 rounds of the championship complete, and now we turn the focus to the future and a trip to Ozarks International. Not sure what to expect, except maybe there's a decent chance Andrea Caldarelli, Jordan Pepper can put up the CrowdStrike fastest lap again. That certainly will be their goal.
Yeah, they're certainly the favorites wherever we go this year in terms of their speed that they've demonstrated over the last year or so, and they're the target that everyone has to go chase. But going to a new circuit, fresh for everyone, that's an even playing field. Jan Halen alluded to the fact he's tested there. He said it's going to be quite the challenge trying to keep it clean. And different strategy maybe going in, being conservative, just trying to survive, but it'll be a wild ride. I can't wait to get there.
It's not every day that you go to a track that is a blank canvas for everyone.
That's right. I mean, typically someone has an advantage, has been there in some form of competition. That is not the case with this new circuit. Admittedly, a lot of teams are going to try and get there between now and then to do some testing. Jan Halen has done a day's testing already, so he's a little bit ahead of the curve, but we'll have to wait and see when we get there for ourselves.
Highlights from race 2 of the weekend. Loris Spinelli grabbed pole by just a fraction of a second, and he used it to take the lead early on. Deeper in the pack, though, 3 wide up the hill.
Yeah, big move by Colin Brown, made up a bumper positions on this opening lap.
I think it was something like 7 spots on 1 lap alone. A great day for him, George Kurtz, and the Riley Motorsports team. Throughout the field, the fighting was fierce. Michael Cooper very aggressive in the early going around the outside in the real-time car. How about this fight, though? Farmbacker and Altaway.
Yeah, Altaway gets in super deep. This allows Philip Ellis to get the runner side-by-side coming off that chicane. And then a little bit later in the going, this is Grunwald inside of Bill Auberlen aboard that Bimmerworld BMW M4.
That's Am on Pro-Am, giving a sense for just how strong that AM pairing was. Big moment in the pit stops there, or at least so it appeared, with the US Racetronics team losing the lead. Turned out not to matter too much. They had a wheel issue that knocked them effectively out of contention. That brought out a full course yellow. Now we go to the restart. Scary moment there at the front. Scary moment further back as well. Coming around the corner, though, for the final time. This was K-Pax Racing completing the sweep of the weekend. Caldarelli, Pepper, Lamborghini, and K-Pax get the job done. Pro-Am to Wright Motorsports and AF Corsa winners here in Sonoma in the AM class. Thanks for joining us. Sonoma Raceway, the site of the first two races of the Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS Championship. Those of you on the stream, thanks for sticking with us. We'll have podium celebrations coming up, well, right now, as it turns out. AM class up on the rostrum. We'll turn it over to PA announcer Robbie Montanola.
Nice and high, big smiles. Our AM podium finishers. All right, now we'll do our hat dance to the VP Racing caps, please. Then we'll grab those trophies. You can grab the flag there, Conrad. That's good. You're a winner, buddy. All right, one more photo with the VP Racing Fuels signage. Thank you to our official fuel partner. And now, back to the Pirelli caps. And of course, one last time for the weekend here for our AM podium finishers. It's the champagne celebration. A round of applause for Onofrio Triarci and Charlie Scardina, Jean-Claude Sada, and Conrad Grunwald.
We talked about the fact, Calvin, that we expect the fight in pro to pick up as the year goes along. I think we saw something too out of this Triarci Competizione team. Charlie Scardina in particular, but Onofrio Triarci too. In race one, they were on the pace.
Yeah, Triarci was really impressive there at the end yesterday. Finally had to succumb to the pressure, but really great performance. I think they got all of the ingredients there in terms of the resources. Great team, great engineering. You know, I think Scardina certainly has the credentials in terms of his background. Admittedly, had that big gap in his career, but he's the real deal. We saw that at Sebring last year in terms of his pace. So I think that team is going to give the AF Corsa team a run for their money this year.
And they have the advantage of a second car. It's a Pro-Am car, Justin Wetherell and Ryan Dial, but they have two cars out there, identical Ferrari chassis, gathering data. AF Corsa has a wealth of experience with this chassis, so if they're going to go head-to-head with a team of that caliber, they'll need any advantage they can get, and that is something they do have in their back pocket.
They do. I think the advantage for the AF Corsa group with Grunwald and Sada is that they've been in the majority of the circuits. It's new for everyone, as we talked about this weekend, about going to the Ozarks next. But they have that notebook. They have the track knowledge. I'm not sure how many of the circuits we visit this year that Scardina and Triarci have actually been to. So it's going to be a steep learning curve for them, but I think they're going to spring a surprise here and there.
Pro-Am podium being introduced once again to PA announcer Robbie Montanola.
And 2 for 2 this weekend in Pro-Am. Driving for Wright Motorsports in a Porsche, Jan Halen and Charlie Locke. Awesome job to all of our drivers. Grab those trophies, everyone. Not yet, Jan, not yet, not yet. That's next, that's stage 2. All right, hold those trophies up nice and high and big smiles. Wonderful. Now, Jan, you can pick up the VP Racing Fuel cap and flags for Jan and Charlie. All right, grab those trophies once again and the flags. Jan, you can grab your flag now, and Charlie. This is the time for that. Big round of applause again for our Pro-Am podium finishers. And now it's time to put the Pirelli caps back on and then spray the champagne. Round of applause. George Kurtz, Colin Braun, Ashton Harrison, and Mario Farmbacker, and Jan Hanlon, and Charlie Lutt take victory once again.
I'll need to see the Riley Motorsports partnership already paying dividends for George Kurtz and Colin Braun. And then to see, once again, the rapid development of Ashton Harrison. She's not been at this all that long.
Right.
But has proven to be right there on the pace. And she was giving Charlie everything he could handle.
She was a great day for her, but I think equally strong performance by Samantha Tan, two top 5 finishers, and Erin Vogel had pace this weekend as well. So different female competitors in our group this year, but they're all equally talented, it seems, and they're going to put on quite the show.
I expect to see each and every one of them factor in at one point or another over the course of the year. Sonoma Raceway lying dormant now for a little while until its next event. Always a great stop and a popular one in the SRO America paddock. A few moments ago saw the sheep on the hills overlooking the racetrack. That's the lawn crew. That's the maintenance crew here at Sonoma. Instead of burning the fossil fuels with lawnmowers or the tractors, they got the sheep out there doing the job.
I think I called them woolly goats, didn't I?
You did.
Yesterday.
Yeah. Is that what they call them in England?
I'm not sure.
It's been a while since you were a resident, I suppose.
For the Windward Racing Team.
To the pro class podium. We'll lay out and let you enjoy the podium celebrations.
And 2 for 2 for the Sonoma squad of K-Pax Racing and Lamborghini. Your winners, Jordan Pepper and Andrea Caldarelli. Awesome job to all of our podium finishers here in Pro. Grab the trophies, everyone. Big smiles. Wonderful job. All right, now it's time for the VP Racing Fuel hats. And Jordan and Andrea, don't forget the flags. Grab the trophies once again. And big smiles once again for our photographers here. Well done again to the pro podium. And now, put the Pirelli caps back on and then spray the champagne. A round of applause for Misha Goikhberg, Jacques Lahantoy, Russell Ward, and Philip Ellis, Jordan Pepper, and Andrea Caldarelli.
That's interesting for the Altoy-Goikhberg combination. This is not the podium they thought they were going to be on when the weekend started.
No.
Well done to our pro.
We got a couple of the teams moved up to the pro class late in the going this weekend, so congratulations to the 3 team in terms of getting that pro podium run. The 96 car is going to be there, I feel, on occasion as well, if not on the top step with Michael Dinan and Robbie Foley, 2 excellent drivers. Got that win last year and we're knocking on the doors a few more times. And they got a new steed as well with that M4 chassis, showing a lot of pace so far in the early days.
Yeah, excited to see what the M4 can do. This has traditionally not been the best of hunting grounds for BMW products. A little bit better for them with the M4 here today than it was a year ago with the M6. Well, that's a wrap for us here this weekend from Sonoma. Thanks so much for joining us. A happy Easter to you. So long from Northern California.